Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing another video from Grab the Lantern. Today is Tuesday and the patch notes have been posted, which means it's time for me to break down the top 5 changes of patch 13.8. I'll let you guys know what the biggest changes were and what you can be looking forward to in the coming weeks. 13.8 is the mid-season invitational patch. As a result, Riot have tried to play things pretty close to the chest and only giving minor tweaks to the vast majority of the champions on this week's patch notes. That said, there are still enough changes for me to break down in a little bit more depth, so let's go ahead and get started with things, starting off with the Kog'Maw changes. Now, Riot have not been very happy with Kog'Maw being a W bot for the longest period of time, and so instead of shifting the power around in his W, they're trying to buff up his other basic abilities to make him feel a little bit better in the laning phase, and eventually transition to more of an auto-attack bot in the later stages. These couple of buffs to Q and E are both fairly nice. E, I think, is actually a little bit more attractive as a 1-point wonder, since the mana cost is down at early ranks, but increases to the same value as it was before. Caustic Spittle being on a 7-second cooldown is quite nice, but ultimately these don't do that much to adjust the overall power budget of Kog'Maw. He'll feel a little bit better in lane, but fundamentally, he's still living or dying by his W cooldown, and these changes don't do a whole lot to affect that. There is one other change here to his passive, which is mostly irrelevant to talk about because his passive is really useless and needs to be replaced ASAP, but there is a new ghosting effect on this ability, so it's a little bit easier for him to actually chase you down to hit you whenever his passive happens to be relevant, which maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Moving on to the number 4 change, we're going to be talking about Lillia. Now, Lillia has been struggling a little bit since the changes to engage support over the last couple of patches have left her out. Instead, Riot are giving her a little bit of love on this week's patch to make her feel a little bit better in the bot lane. These changes aren't highly significant. A little bit of extra bonus armor and MR on W plus a little bit of extra W damage is totally fine, but Leona is one of those very volatile champions at lower skill levels of play. She tends to run roughshod over games where players don't know what she does or don't respect what she does, and as a result, I'm going to be keeping my eyes on these changes. I don't think they're necessarily that relevant, but I do think that in lower tier levels, just the fact that Leona got buffed might cause players to play more of her, and she can be the kind of champion that runs away with games if you're not used to what she does, so definitely one to keep your eyes on. Moving on to the number 3 changes here are the Malphite nerfs, and I am so sad. Riot finally found me out. I've been maxing W first on Malphite top for ages now, and they are finally nerfing it down because it's starting to see play professionally. It's a very, very powerful ability. Honestly, if you guys haven't tried W max first Malphite into a melee matchup, it's phenomenally good. I actually can't overstate how powerful it is, and this is a pretty hefty nerf. 20 missing damage on Thunderclap at maximum rank, in addition to the small nerf to the Cleave's armor ratio, is a big deal for tank Malphite. It does tap him down quite a bit. If you're building AP, you're already building him wrong. I'm going to put that out there, but you're not that touched by these changes. But suffice to say, Malphite feels a lot worse on this patch afterwards, going for the W max strategy. I think it's still going to be very good on him. I think still probably better even than Q max, but it is definitely a lot worse than it was before, and it will limit his power in the top lane, especially for professional play. Moving on to the number 2 changes here, we're going to be talking about Cosmic Drive. Now, since its stat rejigger over the last couple of patches, Riot have been very happy with where this item is, but they're trying to clean up some of the details in order to make it a little bit more usable for the lower skill players who are building it now. To wit, Cosmic Drive now gives more ability power just flat. You don't have to worry about the passive trigger for the extra AP. You just have a flat amount of AP that's better than it was previously. And now the movement speed isn't an effect that you trigger after multiple spell hits, but it's a stackable movement speed bonus that triggers as you land spell hits, stacking up to a cap, at which point you get an even bigger bonus of movement speed. This means that the item is actually relevant even when you can't fully trigger it like you can on the current iteration. It means that as long as you're landing spell hits, you're getting the bonus movement speed off. You don't have to worry about the AP, that's already all factored into the item, and if you are able to fully stack it, you get the full movement speed bonus that you did before, which is quite nice. I do think it helps solidify its niche as an AP and mobility item, as opposed to just a raw AP and CDR stat stick. So generally, I'm interested to see where these changes shake out, but I think it will be a lot more usable going forwards. Finally, the number 1 change on this week's patch are the changes to Lillia. Now, Riot are attempting to introduce diversity in MSI's pool by trying to buff up some AP-reliant junglers. Lillia is one of those, and Riot are also taking this opportunity to make Lillia a little bit easier to play at lower skill levels by buffing up her sustain, while also increasing her clear speed for professional play. Now, this combination is very potent. Professional junglers tend to live or die by their clear speed. A slow clear is a dead jungler in pro play, a fast clearer is like the best champion in pro play. We saw this a lot during MSI of last year, where Morgana and Rumble were the two pick junglers because they could clear multiple camps at the same time extremely quickly. And so clear speed is very important, but also the sustain is a big deal. A jungler being able to clear very quickly and very healthily is extremely powerful. Now, the health bonus is just supposed to be for lower ranked players who aren't able to kite camps around very effectively, but when played at the high level, it's going to be very, very powerful. Riot did nerf Lillia's healing off of champions, but just the base healing, the AP percentage has actually been increased by a fairly substantial margin, which makes it quite powerful, actually, in my opinion, and much stronger than it was before, especially since pros are a lot better at making use of AP ratios. And what this means is I think Lillia is just going to be a pro play staple pick at MSI with this change list. She's going to clear very quickly, she's going to be very healthy, and in the later stages of the game, she's going to have a lot more healing off of champions than she does on live. It's phenomenally good string of changes here, and if you have even a remote interest in Lillia, I definitely recommend picking her up on this patch because you will be surprised by how powerful she is. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Those are the top 5 changes of patch 13.8. It's a pretty quick one because there are a lot of small changes on this week's patch, but I hope there was enough in there to make it an interesting and exciting patch regardless. Let me know what your favorite changes are in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and leave it a like, and if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days like today as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all later.